Everybody, it's Chad with Nobody Else's Auto. It is time for Sunday Night Live Chat, 7 o'clock Central Time. We are live on both YouTube and Facebook. We'll give everybody. All right, looks like we've got a few people jumping on with us. We'll go ahead and get started tonight. As always, thanks for jumping back. Aussie Tim is on. I think you are from Australia, if I remember correctly, Tim. I appreciate you being back. Lance in Utah's on with us. Lots of people getting back on with us already, so super appreciate that. Kevin's on with us. As always, I try to keep up with comments best I can. Dawn from Nashville. Ironhead Garage is on with us again. Thanks for being back, Ironhead. I know you're getting to be a regular. James from Texas is on. Joe from Illinois. Edward's on with us. Thanks for being back, Edward. Glad you made it again tonight. Vic's on with us. Jerry's on with us in New Mexico. Billy's back. Billy in Texas is with us. 79 Tasman's back. Thanks for being here, everybody. Rico and Jess are on with us, as always. So, thanks a lot, everybody. Peters is back. Glad you guys all made it again. Scott in Iowa. They're pouring on quick. So, as always, I'm still shocked that you guys keep coming back and hanging out, but we're having fun, and I guess that's the whole point. Kevin's on with us. Thanks for being here, Kevin. I always try to catch as many of you as I can because, like I keep telling you, this is why we're here. It isn't me. It's the fact that you guys keep coming back, engaging, participating. That's what makes this fun. So I always try to catch everybody. Avon from California is on with us. Glad you made it back. Doug from Iowa. I know I always miss a few of you, and sometimes I think the comments get lost in the transition with the systems, but we're kind of at their mercy on a lot of this stuff, so that's kind of what we've got to work with. So I try to keep up with what I can. Which brings me to the first thing I wanted to talk about tonight. As I'm trying to keep up with comments, I made it as well. Last week, I'm not really sure what happened on YouTube, but there for a few minutes, things went bonkers on YouTube. We went to about 200, almost 250 viewers there for a little bit, just for a short time. But there was, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, we were 150, 200 viewers. And I don't really know what happened. It did drop back off after that. John from New York City's on with us. My good buddy Bill's on. Thanks for being here, Bill. But what did happen in the middle of that, Doug from North Carolina, glad you made it tonight. I haven't had as much of it on Facebook as I have on YouTube, but it does happen from time to time on both of them. Got a newbie on, Doris and Ken from Michigan. Glad you guys made it tonight. But a lot of times when that happens, you always end up with a few stupid comments. People trying to throw me off course, trying to get engaged in politics and intentions of doing. So sometimes when I pause and I'm trying to keep up with comments, there's some of them that I do ignore for that exact reason, because that's not why we're here. Lee from New York's on. Chris is on with us on YouTube. James from Indiana. So when you get into some of those, if you see some weird comments pop up, I am going to ignore them. I'm not going to engage those people. That's what they want. They're trying to throw me off course. They want me to engage them. Not going to do it. We're not going to get into politics on here. That's not why we're here. So when if you see some of that pop up and I ignore it, I mean, I don't want to engage them because that's what they want. But by all means, if some of you can politely ask them to leave the group, that wouldn't hurt my feelings a bit either. But we did have a little bit of that last week when YouTube numbers went bonkers there for a few minutes. A bunch of stuff on Facebook popping up. How many of the cars have titles? A lot of my stuff has titles, Joe. No, but obviously not all of them. Just depends on what it is. I do try to title most of the stuff that is pretty. Some don't. Just depends on what it is. Scott's here. Jesse from Ocala. Carter from Missouri. Glenn from Minnesota. Glenn's always makes it on with us. So just wanted to bring that up because we did have some of that stuff pop up. Some of our other YouTubers are chiming right in on that. And that's all that the trolls are trying to do, is they're trying to throw me off. They want me to engage them and forget about everybody else. And I don't want to do that. That's not why we're here. So like I said, I won't engage them. But if some of you obviously want to politely to ask them to leave the group, that's not going to hurt my feelings a bit. But so sometimes, and then the other thing is, obviously I just have seconds to look at this. I don't want to ignore somebody who is trying to ask a legitimate question, and I may not be following where their question's going. So sometimes when I'm studying some of the comedy, but I don't want to miss somebody with a legitimate question. But when this stuff gets to scrolling, sometimes it gets scrolling pretty fast. So I'm trying to keep up. This thanks for being back, George. Ethan from Hutch is on. He's pretty close to us. Glad you made it. Mike, did I get any 61 to 66 F100s in? Not recently. Everything I've had in 61 to 66 is stuff I've had here for quite a while, so nothing new recently. Is my property in the danger of housing development? I'm about 2 miles outside of town, and as of right now, nothing is going that direction. So nothing anywhere near foreseeable future where I should have that issue where I would get run out for housing development where I'm at right now. Who knows what's going to happen 10 years down the road, but at this point, Lance, that's not anything that is that I really got to worry about too much. Drew, 58 Cadillac stuff. Do not have any 58 Cadillacs at all right now. So anyway, just wanted to bring that up since we did have a little bit of that. We don't see much of it on Facebook. We do see a little bit. Help me out. Ask them to leave the group if they are just trolling and trying to disrupt the chat. Not going to hurt my feelings because I engage them. Not going to engage them because that's what they're trying to push me into doing. Chris from Massachusetts is on. 49 Mercury 8s Frost. I've got one, but there's very, very little left of it. It was a 4-door, but just not much there. 65 Bel Air Builders, nothing at all in 65 full size right now, Glenn. My buddy BJ here in town that does a lot of my dirt work is the 65 guy. I don't know if Brent's on with us right now. He usually is. He may have one. We can sure check with him. Steven from Vermont's on. Dan says he's not very polite when those people jump in our chat. So appreciate that, Dan. Appreciate you helping us out there. Mark from Syracuse, James from Kentucky. Just like, and I do actually, believe it or not, I have 3 or 4 different Hupmobile signs. So that one was a nice fit for the slot. Got it hung up tonight so we could check it out. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But since we had a few of those keyboard commando issues, like as Dan puts it last week, I wanted to bring that up just so we were all on the same page and you knew what was going on. The other thing tonight is my allergies have been driving me bonkers today. So I may have to have a few sniffles tonight. I took an allergy pill first thing this morning. It didn't do anything. I took another one this afternoon. It seems to be finally helping. But, man, they've been driving me bonkers. 56 Bel Air, Mark. I've only got one 56 Chevy car here, and it is a 210 4-door hardtop. Not a lot left of it. Some decent parts, but that's about it. Joe from Garland, Maine is on with us. So, James, brake portioning valve for an 86 F-150, James. I do not have any at all of that 80 to 86 Ford pickup and stuff. Would not have anything on that. But anyway, that's enough about that. I just wanted to clarify some things so you guys knew. When I do pause for a second and I'm trying to read a comment, sometimes I'm trying to determine if it's something I need to engage or something I need to ignore. So just thought I would clarify that a little bit. Anyway, what else is going on? GAA in North Carolina had a big auction this weekend. Do you have any pump mobile? James, I'm not sure where we're going with that one. If you want to give me a little more information on that, I'll sure try to catch you on that. Unless it's the mobile pump plate that we're going to give away here in a little while. But GAA had a great auction the way it looks. My buddy Jim Wicks is there. I texted with him a little bit Friday night, and he said it had been really strong so far. Have not heard anything from him today. I texted him this morning, but from what I saw on the results, looked like they had an outstanding sale. Sell-through rate looked astronomical. Did not see a lot of stuff with still words in the support. Like I said, I can tell you guys, I there's no way for me to respond to all the comments that people type in, but I do really appreciate the kind words. I do see a lot of it about, your guys' support and you coming back and getting involved with us. It's great. So it means a lot to me, and I'm glad we're having fun doing it. And it's not about me. It's about the fact you guys come hang out. Cab for 64 Ford pickup, Mark. I've got some of those. There are some differences in some of those as well, so we need to know exactly which one. James, 66, 67 Nova parts, nothing at all in early Nova period. 62 up to The only Nova I've got is a 70. So I've got 170 4-door, then some 73, 74 stuff. So nothing on early Nova at all. Jay Frankie from South Carolina is on with us. I think you're a new one. I don't remember seeing your name. I apologize, but I'm glad you made it tonight. But some of the interesting things that I noted from GAA, I went through, looked at the results, checking out some cool stuff, and some interesting stuff that I thought, and they've got all this stuff on their website. You can always go back and look at the pictures and check out some of the stuff. But some of the stuff that stood out to me, obviously it's a big collector auto auction. There's Camaros, there's Corvettes, there's Chevelles, there's Mustangs. They're going to be there. I looked for some different stuff to talk about tonight. Dan, how's the drag strip renovation coming? The SRCA drag strip here in Great Bend, Kansas is getting a brand new track. Because of the weather, obviously they were on hold with all these cold temperatures. They have poured half of it. They started at the finish line, working backwards so they could work on the finish and the form and the layout. And now they're going back to the starting line and working towards the middle. And the plan is to start back on it this week. So good signs there. I think some things are going to start happening after this week. Also, some possible events with the SRCA drag strip. If you're anywhere in the Midwest this year, you won't want to miss. Do you have a running inventory list, Joe? No, I don't, because it changes so often, and there's, on vehicles especially, but I've also got 6 buildings that's 20,000 square foot under roof full of cars and parts. I've got about a half dozen semi-trailers out there full of parts. So, a vehicle list you could almost put together. It's still going to change rapidly, but that still doesn't mean, for instance, several months ago, I stripped out a 73 Eldorado. I don't have a 73 Eldorado here. So if you call me and say, do you have a 73 Eldorado? I don't. I got a ton of parts for one in a building off one I stripped out. And then I got a ton of stuff like that I may not have the vehicle here for, but I may still have a lot of parts for them. So that's why there isn't really any way to have that sort of a list. Doug, do I allow people to walk around at this point? And we've talked about this before, and we haven't. And I'm glad you brought it up, Doug, because we haven't talked about it in quite a while. Get set up to do tours. At this point, I can't let you go walk around. I can take you out there and show you what you want to see, but I can't let you just go out and wander around at this point. Let's see. Rocky Mountain Race Week will have a brand new track. That's where we're starting and stopping here. And like I said, hopefully the weather's looking really good for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully they get back rolling on the track. So Rocky Mountain Race Week, that track will only have a couple of races on it, just enough to get a good prep, good rubber down before race week gets here. So it's going to be a pretty exciting deal for that. 60s Mercury Cougars, Ed. I've got 167 or 68 parts car. Very little left of it. Not a ton left of that car. Let's see. Oh, Scott's on with us. What's up, Scott? He actually had a Hupmobile that somebody had turned in, an early teens Hupmobile somebody had turned into an old dirt track car. Am I a one-man crew? Yes, I am. I do everything. I haul the cars. I move the cars. I sort the cars. I pull the parts. I package the part. I build Sunday night chat. I do pretty much all of it. So yes, I'm busy, to say the least. So I handle all of it. And a lot of people say, why don't you get some help? Well, the problem is this stuff is so specialized that it would be almost impossible to train somebody to do it. What's the differences in the different vehicles, the different years, the different models, things like that. And so it would be so difficult to train somebody. Plus, the other thing about it is, with this being classified as an automotive recycling yard, if I did hire somebody, work comp is through the roof on them. So that's another thing that I've got to be real careful about. So one, what it costs to get good help, and then you add work comp on top of that. I mean, it would cost a fortune to get somebody, and they still wouldn't know exactly what I needed done. So that's kind of what I'm up against. Okay, for F100 cabin doors. Okay, sounds good. Just give me a shout on that. Scott, we had a YouTube comment asking about 60s Cougars. So that was on YouTube. And it just asked if we had it. It didn't ask about any specific parts at this point. So Chopper One's back on with us. Glad you made it back, Chopper One. I don't think I've seen you on here in a week or two. So thanks, Jess. Jess says I am efficient. Well, I try to be. I have to be. I don't have much of a choice or nothing gets done. So 67 Coronets, Paul. I've got 166 two-door hardtop. There again, not a lot left of it. Wasn't a lot left of it when I got it. But finding any 66 or 67 B-body two-door was tough, so I went ahead and drug it in. So I may have some stuff on that. Yeah, all right, Chopper. When I was right, you have missed the last week or two, so I wasn't mistaken. I hadn't seen you on, so but we're glad you made it back this week. Anyway, talk about some of the cool stuff at GAA this weekend. Heard a lot. I've never been to a GAA auction. They do a couple a year. They are an actual big late model, regular, wholesale dealer auction, but they do a couple of collector auto auctions a year, and I've heard nothing but good things about them. My buddy Jim Wicks goes all the time, and he's got nothing but good words to say about them. Destroyer 1320's on. Glad you made it. So thought they had some really cool stuff that I wanted to bring up. Just kind of skimming their list, something different stuff. Like I said, we know they had Camaros and Mustangs, but we were looking for different stuff. So first one that stood out to me, 1974 Chevy Nova Spirit of America. Something you don't see very often. Spirit of America was available on Nova. It was also available on Impala or Caprice. And I think it was available on Vega as well. Something you never see. 32,000 mile car sold for $22,000. So neat stuff I like to see when I go to these auctions. Once again, as we've talked about before, I don't know if we've got Robert on with us tonight, our late 70s era Mopar expert as well as wheel cover expert. 78 Chrysler Newport four-door. It was advertised as having 2,750 actual miles. The car brought $17,000. It was a slick car. So, 79 Tasman. I don't think Buick called their Spirit of America on that 76 Regal. Maybe they did. I don't remember, but I do remember the car you're talking about. And it was a cool car too. James, I do not have any early Bronco stuff at all, so nothing on that. 50 Ford F1s or parts. I've got a lot of 48 to 50 Ford truck parts, Danielle, so if you've got a list of what you need on that, you can always give me a shout and see what I've got left on that. Something else that was something kind of different you don't see at a collector auto auction, but is now getting old, 1990 Ford Probe GL. Car with paperwork, did not say how many miles it had on it. Car brought $6,500. Like we've talked about on her before, we're in the middle of a huge cycle in this collector car world, and that's what's starting to happen. Edwards, any 60s Mustangs, complete or semi-complete? Not really. I've got some, but they're all pretty rough. My buddy Jim Wicks does have some project stuff in stock on Mustangs though, so I can always check with him if there's something specific you're looking for. Malibu G-body taillights chopper, depends on which ones you need. I've got a few of the styles, but not all of them. That's all right, James. Yep, definitely. Glad you commented. Mark, Avantis, do not have any Avantis. Talk about a neat little car, though. The Avante was a cool little car. Something else is sold at GAA this weekend. 80. Yeah, I'd have to style the 80 was, Chopper. Best thing to do is give me a shout and I can get you on my notepad on parts to double check that. Yeah, Robert's on with us. C-Bodies rule. He's a big Chrysler guy, and he knows that 70s era Chrysler stuff better than anybody. Scott's got some six. If you got some projects, Scott, Edward's asking that on the YouTube format, so that's where that's popping up. Depending on what you've got, maybe you've got something that would work for him. Something else a little different from the 80s, 89 Shelby CSX. I believe these were built on the Dodge Shadow platform, 2.2 turbo. They made like 500 of them. This was an 89. It was red. They also made a white one. I believe that was the 88. And the car sold for $13,750. And it's basically a Shadow Shelby. So something else to think about there. Something else kind of cool. Obviously, station wagons are hot. I love wagons. I think everybody loves wagons. Cabs do not have any early crew cab stuff at all, Paul, so nothing there. 59 Pontiac Safari wagon, basically restored to original. Looked like a nice old car, been painted and stuff like that. $25,000. This was something kind of different, brought good money from the 80s. Once again, 85 Chrysler Fifth Avenue, 15,000 mile car, $11,000. That's right, Tasman, the Free Spirit. That's what I was thinking. I didn't think Buick called them the Spirit of America, but they called it the Free Spirit. I believe that was a 76 Century Regal platform. But that's where you are 100% right. It was the Free Spirit. And once again, the 70s, the big 70s cars stay strong. 76 Olds 98 Coupe, 14 grand. Another, and obviously we know pickups are hot. There was a pickup that went through that kind of stood out to me. 68 3/4 ton Ford Camper Special with 30,000 miles, 19.5. You think about that, that's a three up. It was a good looking truck, but that's what, you know, everybody for years has always wanted half-ton short beds. Well, these 3/4 tons, the long beds, all that stuff is really starting to come into their own. So definitely not something to just completely ignore. Another station wagon, 56 Buick Special, looked like a good driver that had been painted, 37 grand. I mean, these wagons are strong and they are cool. What else happened? Oh, another cool car from the 70s that you never see, 1978 Dodge Aspen Super Coupe. Obviously, most of the stuff from the 70s was basically stripes and decals, but there again, limited production, something you never see, something completely different, something you're not going to park next to at the next cruise night. Car brought 21.5. If I mean, you told somebody a couple years ago that, you know, a Dodge Aspen was going to break 20 grand, they'd have looked at you like you were nuts, but that's what's happening. Let's see what else we got. Missing Park, glad you made it. Why don't we have SUVs with backward facing third row seating anymore? I don't know. I'm sure it's a safety issue, Edward. I'm sure it, you know, I'm sure there's in those backward facing things were clear at the back of the vehicle as well. So I'm sure that there was crash standards. They probably didn't pass any crash standards, honestly. You know, if they had to do the crash standards today, like they did back then, if they were looking at today's standards, I'm sure none of those would have passed any crash standards on those third row seats in those early wagons. Kevin, how often are the auctions and where? Kevin, they're all over the country. These GAA auctions are in North Carolina, you know, but Meekum has 20 a year. You know, Barrett has 4 or 5 a year, plus all the regional ones, just like we do here in Great Bend, Kansas with the F&E Collector Auto Auction. So GAA, I think this one that we're talking about now is twice a year. That's right, Tasman. Coupes are awesome. In fact, Tasman's got a 79 Aspen RT. Another, once again, primarily a sticker package. Some of them had buckets and consoles, some things like that to make them a little sportier. But they are a neat, cool car. So a few more to catch. This was this was a very interesting pair, actually, that I noticed. 1979 Ford Mustang pace car and a 1979 F-150 pace truck. Something you never see. These were really neat little vehicles, but they never saved them. They were limited production, obviously. The 79 Mustang had 180 miles on it. Brought 35 grand for a 79 Mustang, which probably seems reasonable for a 180 mile pace car. But the pickup, on the other hand, holy cow, the pickup had 3,000 miles on it. And there again, super clean, super nice truck, and something you never see. 58 grand is what that truck sold for. So very strong, very strong. Chiming in with some details. The Super Coupe Aspens had the high output 360 in them as well. So they did have a little bit of meat to them, or for as much meat as you could have to one in the late 70s. So the Super Coupe actually did come with a high output 360. So thanks for letting us know on that, Robert. One other 79 F-150 that they sold, there was just a plain 79 Ford pickup, just a F-150 short wide bed, 33,000 miles. Nice, clean truck. Looked all original down to the hubcaps. The truck bought 39 grand. I mean, this 70 stuff's getting stronger by the day. I obviously personally love it. If you've been hanging out with me, you know I've got my 78 F-250 that I'm really excited about. So Edward says the gas-sucking Demon 360. That's 79 Tasman said the RT had the 360. I guess they were a little more than just a sticker package, but that's still some pretty neat stuff that has been completely ignored over the years. So I get excited when I see that stuff because it's different. I remember that stuff. You remember seeing it from time to time. So, but seeing it again is really cool. Let's see. Do I work with any particular shipping companies? Okay, we're talking about vehicles on this, Joseph. What I do on vehicles, I've got a broker that I use, and I've used her pretty much exclusively for 10 or 12 years. she does a very good job. Not everybody uses her, but if I have somebody that is interested in purchasing a vehicle or something big like a cab or a bed, I send them to her. I give them her number. They can contact her and tell her that you're looking at something with Chad in Kansas, and tell her what it is, and she can get you a quote. So on vehicles, she does a very good job helping people out with getting vehicles and big stuff shipped. She does charge a brokerage fee, but on the other hand, by her charging a brokerage fee, what she does is she checks out who she's sending. She makes sure that they're going to stay in contact with you. They're going to let me know when they're going to pick it up. They're going to let you know when they're going to deliver it. They show up with things like tie downs, stuff like that. She checks to make sure they've got insurance, which a lot of these guys out there running do not have. So there is some service involved for her charging a brokerage fee. So on vehicle stuff like that, that's who I use. Big stuff like sheet metals, I've got sheet metal hoods, fenders. I've got negotiated rates with FedEx Freight. My ground stuff goes regular FedEx ground, and then small stuff goes mail. So that's how I ship, Joseph. Let's see, what else we got here? A couple more. That 360 that the Aspens used was the same setup as the Little Red Express. So there again, something else kind of cool from. Got Eric on with us, a square body fan. Glad he made it. So one other thing from the GAA auction that stood out to me, they had an awesome collection of 58, 59 era Mopars. A couple of them that stood out. Cars did extremely well. 59 Dodge station wagon at 51 grand, 59 Dodge convertible, a D500 convertible at 175 grand. So a really cool collection of 58, 59 era Mopars that you don't ever see. So that was a pretty neat collection that, if you're interested, you can always go to GAA's website and check out the pictures because it was some pretty sharp stuff. So that's kind of what I had for the GAA auction wrap up. As always, you can check out pictures on their site. A few event things that I noticed, our friend Robert shared he actually shared the flyers. I saw the 2 dates for the Springfield swap meet this year. They're going to add a spring as well as the typical fall. So those dates are out. Definitely put those on your calendars and make sure you get those marked down. 79 Tasman loves the late 50s Mopars. You got to check out this collection they sold because it was some really, really cool stuff. Something else I thought we'd talk about real quick before we get into the magazine, another kind of a mini topic for tonight. And the reason I thought about this is because obviously we're going to give away the mobile porcelain pump plate here a little bit later on. And we've got a nice nice porcelain sign hanging up behind me here with the Hutmobile. Obviously a lot of us like memorabilia. I really like memorabilia. And all right, sounds good, Joseph. Have you ever considered getting into aftermarket reproduction parts, Lance? I've thought about it. It's something I've never really had time to pursue. And the licensing and things like that on some of that stuff. So I've thought about it, but it's something I've never really pursued as far as getting into the aftermarket and reproduction stuff. George, any mid-50s GM power antennas? The only thing I may have with power antennas in that era would be Cadillac stuff, if any of those still had a power antenna on them. Let's see. A couple of the comments about Edward's asking, do we have any lagging on YouTube? So he has some lagging on YouTube, but he didn't know if it's because of his storm. Jess has got some lagging in Kansas City too. So, okay, and Robert just posted as well that Lawrence is supposed to have a decision this week. So hopefully we'll know something about the Lawrence swap meet as well. For the Lawrence, Kansas one, that's typically the first week in Lawrence, Kansas at the fairgrounds. A bunch of stuff popping up. Some people don't like their Jeep Patriots on YouTube. That's a little new for me. Don't know much about Jeep Patriots. Let's see. Let me get caught up here. 46 to 50 dual pickup trucks. I don't have any pickups that were dualed in that era. Ironhead's got a little lagging on. So we do have a few lag issues on YouTube. We had it on Facebook last week, so I guess it's kind of balancing out a little bit. But let's see. Diego, do I still have the deluxe steering wheel? Diego, you have to give me a call on that. I don't deluxe steering wheel. That doesn't tell me a heck of a lot. So best thing is give me a call after we get done, or give me a call in the morning so we know what we're talking about on that. We get on the same page. I am plugged directly into the modem on both computers, so I am not running on Wi-Fi on anything on my end, so we may just have a few system feed issues on that as well. Hopefully that'll clear up before we get to trivia tonight. So anyway, porcelain sign tips. I actually did a video on this that's on YouTube a couple years ago, and it's actually still gets a lot of views. Thought we'd talk about it a little bit tonight. Lance says there is a little bit of lag on Facebook as well tonight, so we may have just some system issues in general out there right now that we're up against. So that, or maybe everybody's just equal. Okay, Jim's checking both of them, and Jim says there is a little bit of lag on both of them. So we've got a few system issues going on both sides. Eric's on with us. He just finished the 56 Willys pickup. That's different. You don't see a lot of those. Billy, same thing on Facebook, a little bit of lag there too. So we'll just bear with it, and we'll see what we can make happen, and hopefully they'll start clearing themselves out. But anyway, back to the porcelain sign thing. Obviously, I've got a lot of them. I love them. They're super cool. I know a lot of you guys like them. But some of the things that I always watch for, like I said, I did a full video on this that's on YouTube, and I still get a lot of views on it. But the reproduction side of the porcelain sign game is getting ridiculous. I'm pretty much to the point where I won't buy a sign off of eBay, or even won't buy a sign, period, that I can't hold my hands anymore. You see so much stuff on eBay, and if you read the descriptions of it's vintage, they won't call it an antique. It's vintage. It's vintage looking. It's antique, to beat all the way around the bush to say everything but the fact that it's real. And Ironhead says he just collects repops, and that's fine. I mean, if you just like the look and don't want to spend the money, repops are great for that. The problem with repops is the guys that are trying to pawn them off as originals and trying to get crazy money out of them. And that's where the issue lies in the porcelain sign world. Edward, is there a difference between the Jeep Patriot, Compass, and Liberty? I don't really know, Edward. There again, we're getting into newer stuff that is out of my wheelhouse, really. 50 F100 parts, Danielle. The best thing to do, Danielle, give me a call on that after later tonight or first thing in the morning, and get me a list of what all you need. I've got a lot of 48 to 50 Ford trucks, so there is. Call me on that, Diego. I've got 1,400 cars. Do I still have a steering wheel in that truck? We got to narrow her down a little more than that. So, and then, yeah, and like Edward says, he's not a fan of the repop signs, but and that's another good point. And the reproduction signs are great for the guys that want the look, but don't have the budgets or just don't want to spend the money on original stuff. But like I said, that's where we're running into the problem, is these guys who are selling reproductions and claiming they're originals. And that's what's happening, and it's bad. It's absolutely horrible. So something to think about, and this is something I talk about quite a bit on that video, a dead giveaway. There's several things to look for. Obviously, the first thing to look for is font. Look at the font on the letters on any of them. If you're not sure, Google the sign that really does look original, especially if they've got some whammos in them. Look at the font. They're getting really, really good at font, but they're still missing something usually here and there on them. So always watch the font. That's a good place to start. The other thing that is almost a dead giveaway, and we'll point it out on this Hutmobile sign, is if you see a sign like this, obviously this is an original. This sign's been around for a day. It's had a fairly rough life. And I'm sure you can't see it, but when we look right down here in the fine print, this sign is dated 1915. So this sign's 106 years old. So I guess it's got an excuse for having a few flaws in it. One thing to always watch for is look at the primary fields, the H, the lettering, things like that, the stuff that's going to stand out. If it's all perfect in this area because these things were not revered like they are today for a long, long time. These things were pieces of scrap metal to patch something with. So they didn't care if something happened to it. So if, let's see, let me caught up on comments real quick. I don't want to get too far before they scroll off on me. Yeah, 79 Tasman, they are really trying to make him look old. Eric says that he's actually seen somebody that takes repops, buries them, and then digs them back up and sells them as weathered. And that's a great comment, Eric, because that is happening. That's why you've got to be so careful about it. You know, I've been doing it long enough. I mean, for the most part, I can usually tell when I pick it up and hold it in my hands and look at it, but not always. But usually, and that's another reason why I don't like buying any sign off Swap Meets sign shows where I can pick it up, hold it, touch it, feel it, look at it. That's when I feel better about it. But we see the H here has a whammo here. It's got a whammo here, whammo here. That's because nobody cared back in the day. They weren't that big a deal. But when you get into this stuff and you see chips all the way around the edges and they leave this part here looking really pretty, that's one way that, because they're going to take a hammer and whammo the kind of the money shot of it where it looks really cool. They want to keep that looking really neat so it looks neat. And there's different processes with like vinegar and things like that to create the rust on them. I mean, these just like Eric said, the guy literally buries them and then digs them back up later so they start to look old and start aging. And like I said, they're working on chemical processes to try to get the rust to look old. So that's such a mess. Our buddy Mike Shook at Auto Artistry said over the years on some cars he's built, they've cut cars apart and found signs that were used for patch panels. And that happened. They used them to patch cars. They used them to patch, buildings, all kinds of stuff like that. They were literally scrap metal. So the fact that they whammoed it here or whammoed it there or bent it here, this has some creases in it from where this sign had been bent. You think you could probably see some of that stuff in there. It's because nobody cared. So when you see something that's perfect in here and whammoed around the edges, definite red flag. So Ralph from snowy South Dakota is on with us. Glad you made it. But that's something to watch for. And like I said, if you're buying a reproduction sign because you don't want to spend the money on an original and you like the look, perfect. That's what they're there for. The problem is these guys who are taking full advantage of the market and taking full advantage of have a ton of experience, and they're telling them they're vintage, it's aged, it's weathered, but they're not original signs, but they want original prices, or they'll get, it's a great deal because it looks like it's 20 or 30% less than what the original brings. If the original's 500 and the reproduction's 50, well, I'll make you a deal on it for 400, but it's really a $50 reproduction sign that they beat up. So, let's see. We got a couple things popping up here. Kevin's on. Yes. Swap meets are. We're hoping. I hope we get an answer on Lawrence this week on swap meets. So that'll be good too. Let's see. Jim said he was at a show and a guy had a wooden sign that he said did not look old at all. And they said a lady walked up and asked, literally said, "Is that sign old?" And Jim said he heard the guy say, "Well, the wood's old." So in other words, there's an old piece of wood that somebody painted and made to look they're doing. So that's why I thought I'd throw that out. If you want to check out some more stuff, be sure to watch that video on YouTube. I think it's just titled Porcelain Sign Trader Tips. We look at some other signs that I've got, point out some things like that to watch for if you're into signs and want to add some stuff to your collection. And obviously the original stuff value-wise has gone completely bonkers on some of this stuff. But it is holding its value. It's something that does hold its value well. So, I'm not going to say they're a great investment, but if you like them and they're going to hold their value, it's probably something kind of cool to have around. So, I'd like what Jason says. And there's guys out there just like Jason. He likes the stuff that's beat up the most. The more damage, the better. And there is some truth to that. There is kind of a fine line there. And I'm the same way. I'd rather have something with a little more damage than a reproduction. And, the more damaged signs are cheaper and where you can't, to where it looks really bad because the value gets close down to what the reproduction was actually where they spent on the reproduction to start with. So, but that's another good point. Don't necessarily worry about something that's kind of banged up, even if it is a little rough. Still looks cool. Let's see what else we got. Aussie Tim. Oh, he had to bail off. I guess SpaceX was supposed to launch tonight, but they aborted. I wasn't aware of that, Tim. Glad you were on, but I didn't know SpaceX was supposed to try to launch again tonight. So, Ironhead is a Sinclair sign fan. I like Sinclair too. My daughter loves Sinclair. So, just a couple things I thought I'd throw out there since we're giving a sign away today, and I'm pretty sure it's an original. I'm not worried about it. And I had this Hupmobile sign up for display tonight, so some good ways to point some things out about porcelain signs and what is going on in that market. Okay, we're caught up on YouTube. Facebook is not fed. It's kind of odd, so we may have a hang up there. As always, I try to get to all the comments I can. Sometimes we are up against the system, and sometimes the system does not feed them all to me. If we are discussing a car topic or something related to memorabilia, and I don't acknowledge you, it's because I probably didn't get it. Obviously, if you bring up politics, I'm probably going to ignore it. But thanks, James. Yeah, that's why we're throwing this out there. Is I'd rather share what I know about them with you guys, and share the knowledge that I have learned over the years of doing this. But, I don't want to see any of you guys getting burned on them either. Fear and Loathing, are Coca-Cola signs worth money? The Coca-Cola market's kind of weird, actually. They kind of ruined their own market. When that stuff started getting really hot in the 90s, I think, they started out left and right. So to answer that question, some of the Coke stuff does still have really good value, but some of it, they made so ungodly much of it in the 90s and stuff that they hurt the value on a lot of it. But especially some of the bigger stuff that is original and real, does still have good value on that. So the Coca-Cola side of things are kind of weird. But some of the stuff does still have good value. You just got to kind of watch what you buy. Let's see, a couple more things popping up. And that's another point Jason brings up. Every chip, dent, bullet hole, or crease is part of their history. And that's right. That is 100% right. And this Hupmobile is a perfect example. It's got these smoky areas. It almost looked like the sign went through a fire at some point. It's been bent. It's got creases. It's got, whammos around the holes where it was hung up. And that's 100% right. And this sign's 106 years of existence. Who knows what it's seen? It's seen a lot in 106 years. So let's see. Lance, the Chevy tow truck video. I have not done that yet. And yes, weather is part of it. I've got that in my good shop, and I haven't had anything out of there with the weather being crappy. And I've had a lot of you guys asking to see some of my better cars. So this spring, I will try to start moving some of that stuff out of my new shop that I built a couple years ago, and doing some of that stuff. So yeah, we haven't done anything on the tow truck video yet, Lance, but that is definitely on the agenda to try to get done sometime this spring or summer. Eric found a Goodyear sign that was used to replace the bottom of a dresser drawer. I mean, and that's 100% true. I mean, whatever they needed something flat to patch something with, the sign would work. Bob from Buffalo's on, but he does have lag issues on Facebook as well. Like Ironhead Garage says, if they can only talk, and that's true. Just think of what this thing's been through in 106 years of existence. So anyway, I don't know if we've got Jason on tonight. I haven't seen Jason pop up. To report from Jason. We'll get to that if you want to throw that up. And otherwise, we will roll into tonight's magazine if we're all ready for that. Dan just brought up another good point. Blue Coca-Cola machines. Yes, they did have blue Coca-Cola machines. There aren't very many of them out there. They said that makes you do a double take, and that is true. So, anyway, tonight's magazine. Let's see, try to stay. Looks like we're all caught up, so let's roll into tonight's magazine. We have Motor Trend from August of 1962 to look at tonight, if it'll cooperate so y'all can see it. I selected this magazine for one thing that I've always been a huge fan of, that they didn't make very many and has never really gotten its due. this car right here, the 1962 Buick Wildcat. The first year for the Wildcat as a luxury sports coupe. Neat cars and something you don't see very often. So that's why this one stood out to me. Lance, no NAPCO stuff. Coleman 4x4. I'm not even familiar with Coleman 4x4, but none of that stuff at all there. But anyway, in the August 1962 issue of Motor Trend, I thought this was a very, very interesting article. And as always, like I tell you guys every time, I build this on Friday or Saturday night. I sit down at the shop, usually about 9 or 10 o'clock is when I start working on putting together Sunday night chat. And then I get into the magazine, and I usually kill an hour going through stuff because there's so much cool stuff in them. This article, the first thing that stood out to me was so great. Forecasts, facts, and spotlight on Detroit. A special 1963 forecast. This is what they thought or had heard rumor of about the manufacturers for the 1963 models. There's a lot of stuff in here. Obviously, I just picked out a few to point out. Yeah, the top of the super stock Dodge on the top header of the magazine. There's a little bit on that too. I think I've got that in my notes for tonight too. We'll bring up a few points on that as well. But the 1963 forecast, one of the things that they did mention was the 63.5 Galaxy changing the roof line. They said that which we all know did happen. They did come out with a 63.5, more of a fastback type Galaxy. The early 63s had the chop-off notched roof. Lance said he thinks he's only ever seen one Wildcat. I actually do have a 62 Wildcat in the yard. Not much left of it. It's one that Dad had picked up years and years ago, so it's been pretty 62 Wildcat. So let's see. What was the other new announcements? The new Corvette, obviously, was a big topic at the time. You know, the rumored all-new Corvette with the shark-nosed fiberglass body with razor edge lines, which did all happen and was all true. Retractable headlights. Absent trunk lid was absent, of which is right. And a radical new chassis with an form of link-type independent rear suspension with swinging axles. Reports on springing are contradictory. One source has torsion bars, one has transverse leaf springs. But it did come true. But when we look at the drawing sketch they had for the 63 Corvette, not exactly what we know it as today, but there was the sketch they had out in August of 62. And that was what was so cool seeing this stuff. Am I hiding all the Corvettes? I've only got one Corvette, and it hasn't been out of the garage in 20-some years. So I don't have much on Corvettes. My dad's got a few Corvettes. I've got some buddies that have a lot of Corvette stuff, but I don't have much in it at all. 79 Tasman, his uncle had a Wildcat. Yeah, we'll get to the Wildcat too here in a little bit, but I want to get a couple more points in this one about speculation for 1963. The turbo supercharged equipment in 1963. At least, because GM was starting to use it a little bit. Latest likely candidates for a turbo supercharger: Corvettes, Pontiac Grand Prix, and the old Starfire. GM seems to be doing most of the development right now, though Ford has a program going. Much of it depends on how the current Olds F-85 Jetfire and Corvair Spider turbo models sell. Well, obviously, we never saw any turbo Corvettes. We never saw any turbo Grand Prix or turbo Starfires. There are a few F-85s and a few Corvairs out there, but we obviously now know that most of that didn't happen. So I thought that was kind of an interesting point. Another interesting point that was kind of did lead into something. Pontiac is also rumored to have their own small V8 for the Tempest of 62 that they have scheduled to possibly use a V8 in a 63 Tempest, which they did, which was the 326, which obviously in 64 led to the option package of the GTO with the 389. So I thought that was pretty cool. And like I said, there's about 20 different things in this article, but obviously no way to catch them all and still get through everything tonight. But really neat to look through some of this to see what did and didn't actually happen at that point. Let's skip forward a few more pages here to the Dodge stuff. The Ram Charger, the 410 horse Ram Charger. Here's the article, which obviously shows the engine. And that's right, 79 Tasman. Pontiac used a half a V8 in the 61-62 Tempest. That is true. Eric was a Corvair fan. But when I found this article on this 426 Superstock Ram Charger, it thought of something else that we'll get to here maybe in a few weeks. I've got a whole bunch, and I kind of forgot about them. They're right up here. A bunch of TSBs and dealer bulletins on all this 62, 63, 64 Dodge Ram Charger stuff. Engines, lightweight body panels, all kinds of cool stuff in that packet. So we'll get to that. But the reason this article really stood out to me was when you look at this picture, we see the 426 engine, and we see these massive exhaust manifolds that they had on them. And they are big, huge, heavy things. What makes me stand out, or what stands out to me, is back when I worked for Chrysler, when I was in warranty administration, one of my trainers that I worked with at Chrysler, they ran a 426 Superstock car back in the day. They got a 62 Dart that was a 413 or 426 Superstock, and it had those big monstrous manifolds on it. Well, they were big and heavy. They obviously went to a header for drag racing, and they had those exhaust manifolds, and they threw them out in the trash. Literally threw them out by the garbage can. Aussie Tim's got 3 of those engines. That's pretty cool. That's a nice collection. And the trash men wouldn't take them because they were too big and heavy. So what did they do with them? And you got to remember, this is back in, it was a 62 Dart. They didn't buy it new. It was about a year old. So it would have been 63, 64 era. They couldn't get rid of these manifolds. He said they took a sledgehammer to them, broke them up into chunks so they could throw them in the trash. It's the only way they could get rid of them. What happened back in the day. But that was a really cool deal and a really neat article. And I'm going to get to some of that stuff. We'll get some of those dealer bulletins out and go over some of those here in the near future. Kind of forgot about them. I thought that'd make a really cool topic. What else we got? Oh, here's another cool picture on the Dodge before we move off the Dodge. That's right, 79 Tasman. That's big bucks now, but back in the day they were junk. Showed a really great picture of the exhaust system on the Superstock Dodges, showing the header dumps, the crossover pipes, the whole bit. Really kind of neat stuff. Let's see, what else do we have tonight? Like I said, this magazine, there's just so much neat stuff in these that I'm going to catch our Wildcat article. Here's the article on the 62 Wildcat. We can see it there with the buckets, console, floor shift. Basically a 62 LeSabre, but did, a sportier version of the 62 LeSabre. Had electric taillights, was really about the only thing that stood out from the car externally. It had the hooded taillights like the Electra. Basically a sporty version of the LeSabre. They made 2,000 of them that year, and I always liked them. I always thought they were a good-looking car. Couple more comments popping out. Yeah, Trash Man should have took them home. But there again, nobody cared. They were junk. Nobody wanted them. Who wants those big, heavy things? Let's get some headers on it, drop the weight, make her breathe. Robert made it on. I don't know why you didn't get your notice. We went on right at 7. So, Aussie Tim said a set sold for $15,000 on eBay, but he said there was a style, but they only had a couple sets left known to exist. Robert loves the sign too. Since you missed earlier, Robert, go back in and we talked about that sign as well as some other portion sign tips earlier in the episode. Chris from Masanti's on. Let's see, a couple more things popping up. That's right, Jim. The Chrysler engineers that did do a lot of the early development were called the Ram Chargers. They built the High and Mighty, which was built out of a 49 Plymouth Business Coupe, which was their first test bed drag car that the Ram Chargers put together. And that's right, 79 Tasman. And that's the other thing that's so cool about these magazines. We're looking at this now from the perspective of 1962, not 2021. The stuff and that's what's so great about this magazine. Just like the projections for 1963, when we study this stuff, the episode, we're looking at it from 1962. So it's kind of neat. Lance, do I specialize in one brand or model? Not really. Just about anything American, Ford, GM, or Chrysler. I cover a little bit of all of it. Better keep moving along here. I don't want to keep you guys on all night, and we're already coming up on an hour, and there's still a lot of cool stuff I want to show you. Oh, this is really cool too. Like I said, so much cool stuff in these magazines. You get excited about it. Compact super stocks, which they're, again, this is 1962. So the 421 Tempest, there were a handful of those out there. There's a new trend there's a new trend to big power in small cars. Just around the corner are engines with 400 horsepower and above, driving cars under the 3,000 pound mark. The prospects of standing quarter. So really cool article there. Obviously, we know, just like we talked about a little bit earlier, the predecessor, maybe the writing on the wall to the GTO option package, which came out for 1964. And so we really need to see that article in there as well. Robert, the High and Mighty was not attractive. I will give you that. The High and Mighty was not the most attractive race car in the world. Lance, well, like I said, Lance, it's just allergies. It's not any big deal. It's just driving me bonkers more than anything. Let's see, we're missing a couple things over here. So Aussie Tim said the oil pans alone used to be $2,000 to $3,000. Wow, that's nuts. So Jason's with us. Glad you made it, Jason. But I thought the compact super stocker article was really cool. Just led to what we now know as the muscle car. So thought that was pretty cool. What else we got? A couple more things I want to show you, and then we'll keep rolling here. Yeah, they were pretty lightweight. That's where it all started, Lance. 67 Tempest, the magazine's as old as he is. A little bit off topic, but still vehicles. Dune buggies. Really cool dune buggy article. And we look at these dune buggies, and they're basically, it looks like pipe with a couple axles slapped in them and an engine. Obviously, if this thing goes over, it doesn't have a lot of protection, so I hope it doesn't wheelie or flip over on him, things like that. In today's world of sand cars, where they're, 1,000+ horsepower supercharged LSs with 3 feet of suspension with the safety look like you had on that one. So thought that really stood out. But there again, we're going back. We're looking at these topics from the standpoint of 1962. Ironhead Garage looks like an old dragster, and that's probably what it was. That's, they may have been, they may have ran them on that same car on the drag strip as well. That's right, 79 Tasman. The High and Mighty wasn't attractive, but it was a race car. As long as it got the job done, that was what was important. So, I'm not sure what a first-gen Camaro weighed. 3,600 is probably close, but of course, obviously depends if it was a big block or a small block as well on that. Let's keep moving. Like I said, there's so much stuff we could look at in these things, but let's get to some ads real quick. We always got to check out the ads because obviously, like it's a 62 standpoint, I thought this one was really cool. So we'll wrap up the articles. We'll move to some ads. We'll get to a few classifieds, and then we will get to trivia. We'll give away the sign, and we'll get to some new inventory. So I thought this ad was neat. This is for Klein's Sporting Goods, and it is a mail order tool ad. And what really kind of stood out, you could order a 128-piece socket and wrench set. It was $39.95, or you only pay $1 down and $2 a week, 22 weeks. I thought that was kind of neat. So I was looking at this ad, and it was like, Klein's Sporting Goods, I guess, was like the Harbor Freight of 1962. I'm not sure, but that's kind of what it looked like, you know, in this ad. So I thought that ad was kind of neat. Obviously, you can't hardly open Harbor Freight ad falling open, so that one kind of stood out to me. What else do we have? Skip through here, and like I said, I could show you everything in this magazine. It's cool, but we'll catch the high points. And I actually thought about going and grabbing this. My dad's got one of these fuel pumps, but I didn't get out to his house to grab it today to show it. He's got it on a display board. The Stuart Warner electric fuel pumps. Obviously, electric fuel pumps, commonplace today. Everything's got them. Most people run them, even on older cars. Back in the day, that was a pretty new technological innovation to be running an electric fuel pump on something. So thought that ad kind of stood out. And what else do we have? A couple other cool ads to check out. Obviously, a lot of customizers like fender skirts. They made them for about anything. I think Foxcraft made skirts. Foxcraft probably made skirts for bicycles. I'm not sure. They made skirts for about everything else. That's for sure. Lance said they're getting a Harbor Freight, but he doesn't know if that's good or bad. So, let's see. Other ad we're going to check out, and this is kind of cool because it's got Connie Coletta in it. The Pennzoil ad with the bounty hunter takes another scalp and sets 2 records running Pennzoil motor oil. So there's some cool looking old dragsters in that ad too. Yep, they were making electric fuel pumps back then. And in fact, 79 Tasman, I need to do a video on it actually. My dad's got an entire Stuart Warner gauge display from a speed shop from the 60s. Thing stands about this tall. It's got like 4 panels in it. Of all kind, one of those a new old stock, one of those fuel pumps on that display. It's an awesome piece. I ought to do a video on just on that display, but it's an original out of a speed shop from the 60s, and it is full with all new old stock gauges and a new old stock fuel pump. So it's a super cool piece. Let's see. Oh, one more ad. The one that we always got to catch, we got to keep up with it as times progress, is the J.C. Whitney ad from 1962. Obviously, they kept up with all the trends. You could order about anything from them, customizing parts, performance parts. Obviously, we always try to look at all the different J.C. Whitney ads to see as things are progressing through time as we look at different eras of magazines, because they were always in there. That's for darn sure. They didn't hardly ever miss one. So that's what we had for ads tonight. We'll catch a few classifieds, and we'll try to keep moving here. Ads this time. 1953 Nash Healey Le Mans hardtop. Really cool little sports cars. Something we don't hardly ever see today. Excellent condition, 37,000 miles. Practical trip and daily use sports car with a jump seat, shop manual, $1,850. $1,850. Of course, in 62, that was a lot of money, but that'd be a neat little car for $1,800. Aussie Tim loves the nostalgia. Well, that's what we're here, because we like cars. We like all the memorabilia. So I'm glad you're hanging out with us. Let's see. What else do we have for sale in the classifieds this week or this month in 1962? Let's see. What else did I have marked? I had a couple of other ads marked that I wanted to point out to you. And I don't want to mark them in the magazine. I just write them down so that I'm trying to get caught up with them after when we're going through this stuff here. So here's one. 1934 Ford Cabriolet convertible, a rare collector's item, has been stored for the last 3 years. Body excellent, engine and running gear fair. Best offer over $500 for a 34 Ford Cabriolet. We had this is the time we've really got to put it into perspective of what year the magazine is that we are looking at, because that we really got to put those prices into perspective. How about a 1947 Lincoln Continental convertible, white, Oldsmobile engine, Hydromatic, new tires, radio, heater, Carson top, dual spotlights, good condition, must sell, best cash offer over $1,000. Iron. And the last one tonight in the classified section that I wanted to point out, and this car is just a four-door, but something that's so cool, something we don't see today, and even the four-doors on these are awesome. 1937 Cord Model 812, coffin nose Cord, four-door sedan, rebuilt mechanically to original, includes a spare engine, mechanical, and body parts, $2,700. So that'd be an awesome car for $2,700, that's for sure. So that'll wrap it up. Like I said, lots of stuff in these things. So many cool articles, so much cool information, and so neat to look back and check that stuff out. So 79 Tasman has Auto Traders from the 80s. Yeah, that would be crazy to look at some of that stuff too. And, I'm kind of moving up. I'm going to start doing some 70s and 80s magazines as well. I mean, that's starting to get old. It's part of our hobby. So I want to head that way too as well. Yep, Lance, an old engine in a Lincoln. Well, there again, you got to remember this. So 13 years. Chevy didn't have one until 55. You couldn't find a lot of overhead valve V8 engines in the day. So using an Olds engine was a very common swap back in the day, Lance, just because there wasn't a lot of options out there for an overhead valve V8. So kind of a cool piece. All right, let's do some trivia. Then we're going to give away the porcelain mobile sign, and then we'll get into some new inventory and videos for this week. Let's see. All right, trivia this week. We've got a mobile can we're going to give away tonight, so we're giving away a mobile sign. This is a metal mobile brake fluid can. It does have some discoloration up here. We can still see the mobile good. It's got nice blue and red on it. It's got the small Pegasus on the back of it as well. So a little bit of discoloration, but and see, it's actually got the steel seam on it. So we know this one's got some age to it, even though it's not the real old logo. It is an actual steel can, kind of a neat can. There again, not the best can, but still a nice piece for the shelf. So trivia tonight, and there again, we've got some lag on them, or we did have lag. I don't know if we're cleared up or not. I'll keep an eye on comments. As always, I'll go with the first correct comment that I see. And like I said, you guys got to bear with me on the systems and what they're going to feed me. So I will try to keep up with comments. This one's a little bit trickier. If you were paying attention, it'll be easy, but it was a little trickier to catch. Obviously, I picked up a 1974 Z28 last week. We did a couple videos on that car. Obviously, if you couldn't tell from the videos, I'm a little excited about that car. We do still have some lag on YouTube, so maybe if we still got a little lag on Facebook, maybe that'll still keep it fair for everybody. But I told a story in the video about another 74 Z28. Reason that I was so excited about this car. Obviously, this car's 2 months older than I am. There was a big draw there, but there was another reason that I really like 74 Z28s. And it involved another 74 Z28. What color was the other 74 Z28 that I was excited about? So I'll keep an eye on comments for that. Aussie Tim, hope I keep the Z. I am planning on keeping the Z. The only reason I wouldn't keep the Z is I've got a buddy who loves the car as much as I do. And I'm trying to get him to build it for me, but we got some guesses popping up, but they are not correct as of yet. So we are starting to see some comments popping up, but nobody's gotten it. There we go. Tim L got it. Tim L got it first. It was green. And we had another one right after that as well, but Tim L on YouTube got it. Is what the system is feeding me. So like I said, we run into that sometimes, but that does happen. So Tim L, if you want to give me a shout when we get done, I will get this can off on the way to you. That car was a green 4-speed car. And if you didn't catch the video, when I was about 6 or 7 years old, my dad was up in north central Kansas, and he bought all the new old stock parts out of the Chevrolet dealer, tons and tons of new old stock that he got out of the Chevy dealer. When he was up there getting a load of these parts, and they had just traded for a 1974 Z28, lime green with the callouts on the hood and the trunk, and it was a 4-speed car. it had kind of a tough life. He said there was a little bit of tick in the engine. And he actually probably wasn't as nice a car as his gold car that I've got, because it had a little bit of a tough life. But I was only 6 or 7 years old. That car was loud. It was a 4-speed. And I still said, and I know we've all got these memories of a car that sticks with us. And when my dad took me out in that car and started banging that thing through the gears, I thought that was the coolest thing on the face of the planet. I couldn't imagine anything be any cooler than that. So obviously I've always had an affection for those cars. Obviously, being born in 74, I've always had an affection for them anyway. But man, that green 74 when I was just a little kid always stuck with me. Now, what happened to that car? My dad only owned that car for a couple of weeks. He flipped it to another dealer here in Great Bend, who actually sold it to a good buddy of mine that we just started the car club with here locally last year. I've known this guy for years. Me and him have been friends for years. I never knew he ended up with that car until I bought this one last weekend. And he come to look at it. Tim, my number's on the page. When we get done, my phone number's posted there, so you can give me a call and I'll get your address and get this shipped out to you after we get done. So yeah, or tomorrow morning, and I'll get your address from you. So he comes out. He's out there looking at this gold 74 on the trailer, and he starts talking about another 74. And it was the green 74 that my dad had. He had bought it from the car dealer, and he drove it for a year. So he's really excited about the car. And the guy is super, super picky. Super picky. The cars he builds are phenomenal. So the only way that I would sign the title over to this car is if I sell it to him for him to restore it, with a written agreement that, when he sells it after it's done, that I'm buying it back at a predetermined price. Otherwise, I'll just have the car done myself. So that's, he's just trying to get me to sell it to him, but I don't want to sell it, and he wants to build it. So I don't know. That would be the only possible way I would consider selling that car, is if I sold to him to do it with agreement that when he was the else that I was going to buy it back. So, but I love the car. Obviously, if you caught the videos, you can tell I'm super excited about it. So that was pretty cool. And I was really excited. And then I was even more excited when I found out my buddy had ended up with that car. And we were talking about the exact same car. 40 years later, we're talking about the exact same car. And neither one of them, he didn't know my dad had it, and I didn't know that he ended up with it. And then he had it for a year or two, and then he sold it, and it went on down the road after that. So it did eventually disappear at some point. But it was really cool the way those two stories tied together with a guy that I've known for years, and he never knew Dad had the car, and I never knew he ended up with the car. So anyway, that takes care of trivia. Now, how about the raffle? Who wants to see who's going to win the raffle? Here's what I had. If I don't read your name off, I didn't get your payment. George Collada was in. Lee Carr was in. Jess was in. Chris Powers, Ironhead Garage was in. Jason Withrow is in. Mike Shook is in. And George is in again. George went in twice. So I did get both your payments, George. So I've got you. Yeah. Kind of funny. I just got the same comment from two different people, one on YouTube, one on Facebook. Still a small world. So, and that's 100% right. It's ironic that popped up. Lance on Facebook and Ironhead on YouTube. Same comment at the same time. So like I said, I may let him build the car as long as I get a 100% locked in agreement that I buy it back when it's done. So if I did not read your name off from these raffle slips, I didn't get your payment somehow or another. So we got the trusty Buick can like I showed you last week. We're going to put them all in the Buick can. I've got a whole bunch of names dropped in here. I've got them all printed out. You can see some of the names on there. And we've got them all piled in there. Had a couple of them drop out. We don't want to miss anybody. We want to get everybody's name in there. So here's the sign we're giving away. This is an original mobile porcelain pump plate. A few chips, few ammos, but overall presents pretty well. So let's see who I'm going to ship this to. Oh, my buddy Brent is on. He remembers a green Camaro in Great Bend back in the day too. So, all right, we got the trusty Buick can. We're going to shake this all up. We're going to switch the names around. We're going to swish them around good tonight. And whoever's name we're going to draw, just give me a call after we get done to make sure I've got all your information. I've got one here. Let's take a look at it and see who it is. George Collada is our winner tonight on the sign. So, thanks for playing, everybody. I guess it paid off for George. He bought a few chances, then he come back and bought a few more. So, George is our winner tonight. Congratulations, George. I'll go through. I don't know if I got your phone number on there. If not, I know you've got mine. You can give me a shout. So we'll get that on the way to you. Thanks a lot for playing, everybody. It was fun. We had a great time with it. And do we want to keep doing it? That's my next question. I mean, is it worth doing? Do I want to find something else? And we had a lot more people who said they wanted to do it than actually bought chances. So that's why I want to double check and make sure that we still want to go, still want to keep going with it. So think about that. If we do, we'll find something else and start a new one for March next weekend. So congratulations, George. Super excited for you. Hope you're going to enjoy it. So Jess says, let's go again. So if that's still the consensus, I'll dig something else up and we'll keep rolling with it. But thanks a lot for everybody for playing. I think it's cool. I think it's something neat. I think it's a great addition. And I hope you guys all enjoyed it. And we'll get this shipped out to George. So, okay, we're getting a lot of votes to keep it going. So we'll sure keep it going. And like I said, I've got a lot more people who said they wanted to do it than bought chances. So as long as it keeps kind of supporting itself, this one was close. It was a not really close. So we'll keep rolling with it. Like I said, as long as it kind of keeps supporting itself, I don't have a problem doing it. Obviously, it's not to get rich. It's to have fun and do something else. It just has to cover the cost of the piece that we're giving away. So congratulations to George on that, and hope you're going to enjoy that piece. So a few more things to catch tonight, and then we'll go ahead and get wrapped up. Got some yes votes on Facebook popping up as well. So thanks a lot, everybody, for playing. It was cool. I hope you guys see it as a good addition to the chat as well, because that's what we're doing here. I'm trying to build this. I'm trying to come up with ideas so we can all have fun. Like I keep telling you, it's not me. It's all of us. It's the community of us, and we got to keep it fun and interesting. That's what I'm trying to do. New inventory this week. George says yes. Let's do it again. So definitely got a yes vote from George. DeSoto, that was on the video the other night on Friday night, and a 57 Bel Air. If you caught the video, obviously both those cars are pretty rough. The DeSoto's already given its nose up for a Mercury, but there are still some pieces there for somebody with a DeSoto by all means. 57 Bel Air, very little left of that car, no front clip, rough car, but still has some Bel Air trim. Alan St. John's still in. Demas says keep doing it. And that's it. And I understand, Demas, that happens. He just got busy and didn't have time to do it. That happens. I fully understand that too. So that's as long as everybody's still on board, we'll try her again next month. So yeah, don't worry about the fact you missed this one. We'll find something else cool for next month. But the 57 Bel Air does still have some of it is a 4-door sedan, and the Bel Air had some specific trim. Like the guy called me and said, I'll sell it to you, or I'm going to go haul it in for weight, and it's going to get crushed. So he told me what he wanted for it, and it wasn't much more than weight. So I went and picked it up, and because when they're flat, there's nothing left that's any good. So, and then if you saw the picture I posted tonight on Facebook, if you were on there, I went and picked up another big load yesterday. Some cabs, a bed, 48 to 50 era Ford cab, 55 to 59 Chevy cab. Not the best one, but I don't think there's very many perfect ones of those out there. But not the worst one either. It's got a little rust in it, in the corners and things like that, but the roof looks good. Definitely a fixable 55 to 59 Chevy cab by all means. Yeah, and we did talk about that. Aussie Tim postage to Australia would be a killer, and we did bring that up a less buyer. I want to try to keep it for winter. I want to try to keep it fair for everybody. So if it was something big and we did get into a shipping issue with a non-U.S. buyer, we would have to address that at that time if it was a non-U.S. winner. So that's another reason I'm going to try to keep it to smaller stuff that's easily shippable, because I sure don't want to exclude you guys. And if it did get into something that was really weird and really wonky and was going to be really high out of whack on price, just to keep it fair with everybody, because like I said, I want this thing to kind of fund itself. And if we have to spend all the money to ship one piece overseas, that's not fair to everybody else's plan. So if we did have something that was really wonky on shipping price, I may ask the winner to help participate in a little bit of the shipping to get it to them, just to keep it fair with everybody else, so that the system of the raffle doesn't drain itself shipping one thing to one person. Were crushers few and far between? Yards don't buy anything, so iron went up a little bit here a few months ago, but I haven't seen a lot of crushers out and about lately. No. James, you're thanking me for all I do, but I just put this together and we all hang out. That's the important part. It's not me being here talking to the computer. It's all of us. We've got such an awesome group that it makes it fun to do it for me. So anyway, the stuff I picked up yesterday, the 55 to 59 Chevy cab, fixable, some rust, but fixable. 67 to 72 Ford pickup, one cab that's fair. It's got some rust. Nice 8-foot bed. It's found a couple of tiny rust spots in it, but almost no rust in this 8-foot 67 to 72 Ford bed, plus two 67 to 72 Ford truck hoods. So definitely plus some other little small stuff too. A bunch of 71, 72 Cougar miscellaneous pieces, 48 to 52 Ford cab running boards, some other miscellaneous stuff like that too. So, Aussie Tim says he'd donate back. He just wants to be the winner. So, and like I said, we sell the chances. It's $1 a piece. Whatever you PayPal me, every dollar that you PayPal me, you get a slip in the can. So that's how we're doing it. And that's the whole point. And it's just kind of to support itself and keep it rolling. So that's the way we've been doing it. $1 a chance to my PayPal account. Next week, when we start a new one, I'll make sure I have that PayPal address listed as well, so we can start over again next week. And we'll give something else cool away at the end of March. So that's what I picked up for new inventory this week. Stay tuned. There'll be more. Obviously, I got the DeSoto and the Chevy in the video Friday night. We'll get some videos on all the sheet metal I picked up yesterday as well this week. And what do we got coming up for videos this week? The 37 Plymouth I picked up last week. I've got a video coming on that. I just did that video was just on that car because it's basically a complete 37 Plymouth with some really cool stuff on it. Grill on that car is almost perfect. So we took a few minutes to walk around that thing and look it over good because there's so much cool stuff on it. Got a video on the 92 Caprice I just picked up. Slick old 92 Caprice Classic. There again, car's almost 30 years old. They're getting hard to find. And like I said, we're in the middle of this big shift in the collector car world, and we've got to be paying attention to what this younger generation likes, because we had the discussion last night. We had our car club Christmas party last night since it got pushed back due to all the restrictions. And we had this conversation last night with 3 or 4 guys. This shift that we're coming up on, a lot of people say, that these kids don't like cars, and that's not right. That's 100% wrong. There's tons of kids that like cars, but they like different stuff than what we're used to. They like different cars than we do, because and 95 is now 25 years old, thinks a 92 Caprice is an old car and it's cool because that's what they remember. We've got to remember these high school seniors that are going to graduate here in a month or two were born in 2003. So something from the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s is old. 70s is ancient. 90s is old. So we've got to keep that in mind. So the car hobby and the youth in the car hobby is alive and well, extremely alive and well. But we need to be cognizant of that change and make sure we welcome those younger members into our clubs, welcome them to our cruise nights. Because when that kid pulls up in a 93 Camaro that he thinks is cool and to him is an old car, and somebody tells him, "Why'd you bring that plastic piece of junk to our cruise night?" You just alienated that kid. You just alienated that kid from your club. your cruise night, your car show, and any other events, and you may have just alienated them from the hobby. So we always want to keep that in mind. So aware of. And so I got a video coming on the 92 Caprice that I just picked up. It's not done yet. There's a couple things I want to fix on it, but I want to give everybody a quick walk around on it to check it out. We got a few comments popping up on YouTube. Let me get to. Oh yeah, Jess loves Plymouth, so she's excited about it. Eric learned to drive in a 36 Plymouth, so. And here we go. We got Eric on YouTube, and he is in high school, and he loves all cars from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So we've got that that younger generation out there. We need to make sure we embrace that and that we don't alienate. And actually, we're going to use that for a topic here coming up, and I'll get into it a little deeper and give you some other examples here probably sometime in the next few weeks. I've got that on my notes for a topic in the near future. So, but with the 92 Caprice, that was a good, that reminded me of it, that we need to make sure and then of course the conversation we had last night at the Christmas party, we need to be aware of that. There's a ton of kids, them and the vehicles they like, even if it's something that we're not used to or that we may not consider an old car or a collector car. It may be to them. 79 Tasman is a Mopar guy, but any classic is cool. And that's the thing. But the thing we got to be careful of is classic, antique, old is a relative term that is always moving. And we've got to be cognizant of that. So, and we'll get into that a little more in a future episode. So, anyway, that about wraps up what I've got for tonight. Had a great time with you guys tonight. Hope we didn't drag it out too long. But had a blast with you guys. Great point, Robert. I hate the clubs to say anything newer than a 1980 isn't allowed. And that is a perfect point, Robert. Says it tries to set a parameter like alienate the younger generation, and you are going to say that there's no kids involved, and you are going to say kids don't appreciate this because you're not opening your eyes to it. And that's what, and that's a perfect point. And if you're involved with a club or a group or putting on a cruise night or putting on a car show, make sure you're aware of that when those kids pull in. Let's see. Eric tries to encourage other kids in his school to get in the hobby, and that's perfect. 79 Tasman, born in 79, and makes it feel old knowing that. So, and that's your license. We'll get into that a little more. I've got that as a topic. I've got some other things I want to talk about on that. I didn't mean to get quite off on it that much tonight, but it kind of went that way a little bit. Have not had anything feed on Facebook in several minutes, so not sure if we've got a delay there. Usually when we get into a big delay on Facebook after we get off and I refresh the page, I have like 20 more comments pop up that weren't there. So we may have some feed issues on Facebook as well. So that, am I bringing in diesel pickups? The only Dodge diesels I've got, I run. They're hard to buy for parts. They're too popular. They're too valuable. So I don't really have any diesels. I've got a lot of Super Duty Fords 9907s that I've managed to pick up, but not much diesel stuff. Let's see. What's Demas' son? Demas' son is 16 and loves cars and trucks. Perfect example. Demas' son is 16. They just bought him an 85 Chevy pickup. There again, newer than 1980. But in Kansas, that's an antique. It's over 35 years old. They've got Chevy trucks up into the 80s and 76 Cutlass. I mean, that stuff is cool, and it's different and it's old. So there again, that's what we got to be careful about, and we got to be cognizant of. Let's see. Aussie Tim, thanks. Robert graduated in 7. George, thanks for the, there again, and you guys keep thanking me, and I appreciate it. I mean, the kind words are great. It really excites me to keep doing this. But man, if it wasn't for all of you on here and all of your participation, all of you is what makes it great. It's just like any of this stuff in our hobby. If you had a cruise night and you were the only car there, it wouldn't be much of a cruise night. It's great people, and this great hobby that we have is what makes this stuff awesome. And that's what I like about doing it. James wants to buy my truck on the shelf. That's one of my toys. It's not for sale. There again, getting me to sell toys is about like trying to get me to sell a sign. It doesn't happen very often unless I've got like 3 or 4 of them. So that's one that's just out of my personal collection. A couple more comments popping up. 79 Tasman says 85 still out of carb. That's right, on 85 Chevy pickup. Carl says he'll be back. Thanks for Carl. Thanks for jumping in tonight, Carl. Garage was born in 75. Well, I was born in 74, so we're pretty close there too. So anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it still amazes me that you guys keep coming back every week, and you're telling your friends about it and getting them on with us. And that's what's great about our hobby, and that's what makes it fun. Kevin bought a 69 New Yorker from my dad 3 years ago, and he still drives it daily. I think that's that white car, if I remember correctly. That was a slick old car. No, Lance, Shayla's not much into cars too much. She puts up with us, I guess. My daughter, huge car nut. My daughter loves cars, but Shayla not so much. She's okay with it. She thinks it's cool, but obviously not near to the point of what me and my daughter are. So guess we'll go ahead and get ready to sign off. As always, I really appreciate you guys being on. I'm just the one that gets to sit here and hang out in front of the computer. It's all you guys are what make it happen. I just try to put some notes together so we can have a good conversation, check out some cool stuff, and talk about all the stuff we like. So thanks for all the kind comments, everybody. I know I missed a few, but there's a lot of nice ones popping up. And I'm going to get to work. I got a few more things I want to get done yet tonight. But I do really appreciate you guys stopping by, hanging out, spending a good chunk of your evening tonight with me. And that's what makes it fun. So as always, more videos coming up. Stay tuned tomorrow night. We'll throw one up. We'll do Toy Tuesday live on YouTube like we've been doing. So be sure, if you're on Facebook, be sure to jump on YouTube at 7 o'clock Tuesday night to check out some more cool toys and or memorabilia. We'll see what we do then. And then videos Wednesday and Friday. And then right back here at 7 o'clock Central Time next Sunday night for Sunday Night Live Chat. We'll put some more cool stuff together. And thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate it. Kevin loves his Chrysler. Glad you do. That was a cool car. Lots of thumbs up popping up. Appreciate it, everybody. Real quick, Bob, 53 to 60 Ford panels. I've got a 58 that it may have the doors are still on it. I'd have to check the hinges. I've been pricing those doors complete, so I don't know if I'd want to sell just the hinges off of them or not. So you can give me a shout on that. We can talk about it later. Other than that, I think I've caught all the comments, other than all the things. Oh, wait a minute. We a couple things here. Robert's got an 89 Mustang GT convertible. Perfect comment, because there again, that car's now old and something we need to be thinking about. So all right, we'll wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for spending some time with me and all the rest of our group tonight. And for all your sign off, we will see you next Sunday Night Live, plus the videos this week. Have a safe week, everybody. Enjoy your cars. Let's have some fun. Hopefully we got some swap meets and car shows coming up. We're going to be able to get them out and enjoy them. And we will see you all next week. Thanks for watching, everybody.